Research shows that our children make so many major developments within the first 10 to 12 years of their life. Did you know that your child is expected to change 15 to 20 times across their childhood years? This is the case. Why do we as moms expect to stay the same throughout all of the transitions? This got me wondering, and today we're going to talk about it on this week's episode of Activate Your Destiny.
Wake up, it's time to activate. Wake up, it's time to activate. You know there is more that God has in store. You've been so used to hiding and used to inviting the fear, guilt, and doubting that keeps you from thriving. But wake up, it's time to activate it. Wake up, it's time to activate it. Activate your destiny. Time to activate it.
Welcome to another episode of Activate Your Destiny. I am your host, Destiny Faith McCoy, and I have a question for you ladies. Why do we celebrate every milestone that our kids have, but we ignore or mishandle our own? And then I'm watching as my kids they're evolving right before my eyes. My youngest, when you guys see this, will have been 5. Actually, the date of this comes out is his birthday, his 5th birthday. Where did the time go? I've watched him grow up over the last 5 years and transition to this loving class clown, full of life, full of jokes, full of happiness little boy. I've seen him go from the infant that I've needed to care for, from food to helping him to walk, to now preparing him and teaching him how to read and how to write and math and kindergarten things. But throughout all of this, from the time that he was born to us having kindergarten lessons during homeschooling, he went through a whole lot of transitions. And throughout those transitions, I also have gone through a tremendous amount of transition. I've gone from being the mom that I talk to you guys about often, that mom that was sitting in the living room, just frustrated because I was trying to be perfect at everything, frustrated because I didn't really understand what my calling was. I didn't understand what my roles were in life. I'm not talking about the titles because I knew what those were. I was a wife, I was a mom, I was a homeschool mom, I'm active in my church. I was doing a lot of things title wise, but I didn't know who Destiny was. And to be honest, through these last 5 years of his life, Destiny has evolved. And it got me thinking, why do we struggle so much with that evolution ourselves? We're perfectly fine, doing the month by month pictures for the babies. We're perfectly fine when they have their pre-K and kindergarten graduation. We're perfectly fine when they learn how to ride a bike, when they start feeding themselves, when they start sleeping through the night. These are all milestones that we celebrate. But when it comes to us, we either don't celebrate them, we don't acknowledge them, or we remain the same in a previous stage that we should have moved on from. So I started thinking about, is there a part of the Bible that discusses this? And the scripture that came to mind is 1 Corinthians 13 and 11. It says, "When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man or a woman, I put away childish things." Now, hold up. Before you get mad at me, I'm not calling us childish. What I am referring to is the evolution that even the Bible talks about. We're not supposed to stay the same, stay in the same space. We're supposed to evolve just as our children evolve. Talking about their milestones is just a way to relate the point. There was a time where parts of you existed, routines worked because of the season that you were in at the time. But sometimes we get stuck in that season. So, for example, if we're talking about having infants, Who I was when each of my children were infants is a completely different person from who I am now. Who I was when Lyric was born, my firstborn, and who I am as her mother now, almost 12 years later, are completely different people. But what would happen if I remained in the same space that I was in 12 years ago with newborn Lyric? That Destiny had no idea what she was doing. She was newly married, new to motherhood, new to adulthood, fresh out of college, barely. I think I actually had a semester left. I was lost, so to speak. Not lost in salvation, but lost because who am I? Right? But the way that we maneuvered at that time no longer works for where we are in this season. If my husband and I continued to stay in that space, we'd be stuck. Our children wouldn't be thriving. But same thing with Cadence. When Kay was born 8 years ago, I was not the same woman that I was when Derek was born. And I was not the same woman I was when JR was born. And I'm definitely not the same woman that I am now. So let's talk about it in a more practical way. Pause right there, Mama, because if this episode is hitting home, I guarantee you it is not by accident. This is the season where God is activating you. And guess what? You do not have to walk that out alone. That is why I created Mom School, a coaching community built to help you get your confidence back, find your rhythm, strengthen your faith, and finally create a home that feels like peace. Inside, you are not just surviving motherhood, you are becoming the woman that God has created you to be. With clarity, with strategy, and with most of all, support. If you are tired of feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and disconnected from who you are supposed to be, it is time to move. It's time to get activated. And Mom School is the space where moms transform from the inside out. Click the link in the description and join us today. It is time to activate your destiny. When your child is fresh out the womb, right? Newborn stage. You have to adjust basically to their schedule. If they are waking up every 2 hours, you wake up every 2 hours. If they don't sleep through the night, but between just for a random example, between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., they decide that that's the time that they want to sleep. That's the time that they're going to sleep. And for the most part, there's nothing you can do about it in those beginning stages. So maybe you don't get up until 10 o'clock. But does that work now? Probably not. It probably does not work now because you're no longer in that season. The way that I talked to my daughters when they were toddlers, still learning how to walk, navigating the twos and understanding their authority and their power and their voice is not the same way that I will talk to them now, especially when one of them is a preteen. There's a lot more independence that I have to talk her through. There's a lot more lessons and guidance that I have to give her versus giving instructions like I did back then. Well, I'm still giving her instructions, but it's more like a don't do that back then. And now it's more of a don't do that because I want her to understand the process. I want her to be able to think for herself. The same thing goes for us as mothers. Or here's another example. When your kid is in elementary school, you don't deal with them the same. You might be going through a school schedule if they're in public or private school, or if they're homeschooling, you have a specific schedule that you work through, right? But it can't be the same schedule that you went off of when they were newborns. So something in you, mom, also has to change with the process of your child changing. As they go through their milestones, you also have to be able to adjust. And I feel like a lot of us have gotten stuck in a specific time frame. It worked then, so it has to work now. But as we've talked about in so many of these episodes and in content and in mom school so far, you cannot continue to do the same thing if you're expecting a different result. New seasons require new tools, but most moms were never taught how to transition from one season to the next. What do I mean by that? When was the last time you had a conversation with somebody that sat down and told you what worked back then is not going to work now? Maybe you do off and on if you are willing to even allow somebody to help you, or maybe you haven't. Our generation does not want to ask for help, even the generations before us, because we have this persona like we know everything and they did everything wrong. And that's far from the truth. There may be some parts of what the generations before us or the generations that raised us that we may not agree with, but everything that they did was not wrong. Just like when our children are growing up, they're going to say the same thing. There were some things that we might have done that they didn't agree with, but there were some that they understood why we did it and they may implement it in their own raising of their own family. So think about it. Why are we keeping them from pouring into us? I specifically ask my mom stuff all the time. Yeah, why? Because I don't know everything. I had to get to a place where I stopped pretending that I knew everything because I don't. I am in this motherhood journey for the first time 3 times. Why? Because they're 3 different children, 3 different personalities, have to raise them 3 different ways. The core foundation is there, but I still have to pray and ask God for the wisdom to raise them because they're individuals. So, yes, I do ask questions sometimes because I don't know. So, the first thing that I think we need to get better at is allowing the generations before us to pour into us. Even if you don't agree with everything, I can guarantee you that there's something in that conversation that makes sense. For example, gentle parenting. I'm all for it. I'm all for allowing our children to have a voice. I'm all for allowing them to understand the other side of things and not just saying, do what I said. I understand making them emotionally mature. I understand giving them an opportunity to say how they feel. But what I don't understand is allowing them to run over us. That's not what parenthood is supposed to be. We are supposed to train them up. We are supposed to do what God has given us the responsibility to do, and that's raising them in a kingdom household and raising them to be able to survive in the world, not letting them take control over us. So, something as simple as that. We may not understand the method that our older generations went about it, but the concept is still the same. I call myself a partial gentle parenter because, yes, I'm all for emotional intelligence. I'm all for getting them to express themselves. I'm all for voicing their opinion, but you're going to do it with respect. You're going to understand that there are some times that I say things and I just expect you to do them. Why? Because I know better. For example, if we're out in a parking lot and my job is to be watchful and I see that there's a lot of commotion going on the other side of the parking lot and I quickly say, get in the car, I don't expect you to have a conversation with me. I don't expect you to ask why. I don't expect you to have this whole meltdown because you wanted snacks instead. If I said get in the car, I said get in the car. Why? Because I can see the danger ahead. I can see what's going on around you that you might not be able to see. So in those instances, gentle parenting ain't gonna work, right? I've also heard somebody say that you can't gentle parent a non-gentle kid. Everything has to be based off of your family and your child. I don't even know why we're going here because we were supposed to be talking about us and our transitions. But here we are. I never know. One thing I do intentionally is pray before each one of these episodes. Pray that God has his way and that he speaks through me because I don't know what it is that you guys need to hear. I know what I wrote. I know what the topic is going to be. But if we venture off, welcome to the venture off. So I guess we're going to talk about gentle parenting and we're going to talk about honoring those who came before us because they were on to something. We all turned out okay, right? For the most part. Now, I'm not saying that if you grew up in a traumatic experience that you need to follow that. That's not what I'm saying at all. So don't come in the comments twisting my words. I am saying if there's somebody around you who has their head on straight, especially if they hear directly from God, listen to the wisdom, not the tomfoolery, the wisdom. Okay. You have to listen to the wisdom because we don't know. And if you are in a season where you don't know and you understand that something has to change, why not get the wisdom from somebody who does? And that's not to say that they know everything either, but they can give you what they see. The same thing that I do as a mom coach. You might not be able to see what I see because you're right in it. We have to stop making it seem like we know everything and that nobody can give us any advice. That's the first thing we got to stop doing as we are transitioning into other seasons of our life. We have to be willing to receive wisdom, whatever way it comes. Sometimes we're not going to like it, and that's okay. As our kids are transitioning, we have to be okay with our own transitions. We have to be understanding of the fact that as they grow, we should grow. As they move through milestones in their life, we also should move through milestones in our life and be happy about it. Be receptive to it. We celebrate their milestones, but we often misuse or don't receive or acknowledge. We don't acknowledge our own. I am not the same woman that I was with each one of my children's birth. And for that, I'm grateful. For that, I thank God. For that, I'm appreciative of every trial and tribulation that I went through to get here. I may not have liked it in the moment, but I'm grateful for it because it has made me a better woman. But I had to transition right along with them. I could not stay where I was 12 years ago. I could not stay where I was 8 years ago. Could not stay where I was last year. I started this year realizing I have to pivot again. Internally, I have to make some changes. I have to be open to new things and new ideas in order for God to do what He's trying to do with me, which requires me to keep moving. What if God had milestones for us? What if he was up there checking things off the list like we do at the doctors and they give us all these papers? Is your child walking? Are they able to follow two-step commands? Are they able to recognize these sight words? Are they able to do these different things? What if God has the very similar milestones that he's checking off for us before we get to where we're trying to go? What if he's like, is she able to forgive? Check. Is she able to stop caring about everybody else's opinion about what I've told her to do? Check. Is she able to put herself and her family on a routine so that she can get more done and not burn herself out? Check. Or is she still just winging it? Okay, maybe we need to have a conversation. Maybe we need to reassess. Maybe we need to figure out what the root cause of that is. The same way the doctor does for your child. If you tell them no, they can't follow these things, you're going to have a conversation during that appointment. They're going to ask you why. They're going to dig deeper. They're going to reassess. Why is your child not at that level, at the milestones? Why are they not meeting the milestones? What if you're not meeting the milestones that God is giving us? What can we do to make sure that we are so that we can keep moving forward? It's the same thing with school. Can your child do these things? If they can, great, congratulations. You can move on to the next grade. What if God was like, great, you can move on to the next phase, to the next level of lessons that I have for you? Only if you were continuing to move forward. But if you're not, you got to be held back. If you're taking detours, if you're getting in the way, if you're trying to control things, he's going to hold you back. And we don't want that. We want to continue to move forward. We want to continue obeying God at the speed at which He requires of us in that season. And I believe that we can do it. I don't believe we have these conversations for nothing. I believe He brings these things to our attention so that we can work on them together. You and me both. You and me both. The great thing about relying on God during these conversations is sometimes the revelation is speaking to me too. I'm just the messenger, not the one who has it all figured out. Do you feel like you might be stuck in an older version of yourself? I want you guys to think about it today. What version of you are you still holding on to? Are you ready to move on, to keep pressing, to keep pushing? As the verse said again in 1 Corinthians 13:11, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I shouldn't still be reacting as a child. I shouldn't still be holding on to emotions like a child. I spake as a child. I should be able to watch what I say. I should be able to speak life into myself and to others. I shouldn't be out here cursing people out. I shouldn't be out here throwing a fit because I said what I said. I shouldn't be out here um, mistreating people, talking to my husband any old kind of way, talking to my kids any kind of way. I spake as a child. I understood as a child. You should be at a higher level of maturity emotionally, not just physically, but emotionally too. I understand as a child. That means you haven't done much personal growth yet if you're still responding to things in a childish manner. But when I became a woman, I put away childish things. You're moving forward. You put away childish things. The toys, you put them away. 'Cause you're like, especially when you become a teenager, it's like, I don't play with Barbie like that no more. Right? I don't really play with that because that's for kids. I don't really do that no more because that's for kids. It's the same thing with us. I don't really gossip like that because that's childish. I don't really just be out here doing whatever and not pouring back into myself because that's childish. I don't be out here comparing myself to other people when I know that God has called me to do things differently because that's childish. And it sounds harsh. Even as I'm saying it, I'm like, ooh, but it's the truth. What area of yourself, what season of yourself, what stage of yourself are you still holding on to? Let's make today the day that we are become aware of it and we begin to put away those childish things. Not get mad at me. Maybe you do, you do. But take this moment to say, God, show me what areas I am still stuck in so that I can continue to move forward, so that I can release them and not be bound by a certain stage in my life that I shouldn't be bound by anymore. And I can guarantee you he'll start to show you, and then you can start releasing it. You can start moving forward. You can start maturing in those areas so that we can continue to move forward, so that we can continue to activate our destiny. Now, really quickly, if you have not subscribed already and turn on that bell so that you get notified when I am uploading something or when I go live or whatever, I strongly encourage you to take a second and do that now. There will continue to be weekly episodes. We will continue to activate our destinies. And in February, I have quite a few announcements that you do not want to miss. Subscribe, hit that bell, leave a comment below. How are these episodes blessing you? I asked in my stories the other day, which episode so far has activated you the most? And the majority of people said all of them, which I'm grateful for. But I would love to know. I'd love to hear from you. If you are listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, same goes for you. Leave a review, hit me up, my DMs, or whatever way you feel the need to share because it is an honor to hear from you all. The feedback that we've gotten so far has been a blessing and just confirmation that God is doing exactly what He said that He would do. So that is all that I have for this week. We will be back next week with more conversations and more ways to activate your destiny.